Centralizing on the theme of near-death studies, it explores the enthralling domain of psychology and psychiatry, analyzing the physiology, phenomenology, and residual effects of near-death experiences. NDE. This captivating field vests its roots with a pioneering group of North American researchers that expanded upon the groundwork laid by luminary Raymond Moody. This eventually gave rise to the esteemed International Association for Near-Death Studies (IANS) and the reputable Journal of Near-Death Studies. Over time, this field has amplified and assimilated contributions from an extensive global roster of researchers. However, the research into near-death experiences primarily resonates with medicine, psychology, and psychiatry. A near-death experience encapsulates experiences conveyed by individuals who have been at the brink of death under medical or non-medical circumstances. The role of trauma in physical emergencies forms a crucial part of understanding these experiences. Linda J. Griffiths and Bruce Grayson's research notes that 5 of the adult American populace have encountered an NDE, while surveys conducted in the US, Australia, and Germany suggest a figure in the range of 4 to 15. Exhaustive studies delve into the influence of physiological, psychological, and transcendental elements linked to NDS. The experiences are categorized by subjective feelings of being detached from the physical form, visions of departed loved ones and religious entities, and transcendence of ego and space-time constraints. It's also established that NDE is not an experience exclusive to the Western world, showing similar aspects across different cultures, with variances in the details and interpretations. However, some research faces opposition to the idea that cultural models significantly impact in the narratives. Scientists also suggest that these extraordinary experiences could be a result of stressed or dying brain activity, brought on by factors like oxygen deprivation, faulty anesthesia, and neurochemical responses to trauma. Nonetheless, these explanations do not deter many from attributing a larger, more meaningful reason to their complex experiences. The NDA scale, utilized for evaluating these experiences, comprises of several elements which include extrasensory perception, encountering mystical beings or voices, and approaching a point of no return. Renowned researchers Van Lommel and colleagues highlight 10 core elements that constitute a near-death experience in their illuminating study published in The Lancet. Bruce Grayson outlines how individuals who have undergone near-death experiences (NDS) can struggle to maintain relationships because of fears of disapproval or ridicule when sharing their experiences. There's also fear of negative professional reactions, preventing those needing support from seeking it. This is particularly the case concerning distressing or unpleasant NDS, which are also poorly understood and researched. Making sense of these experiences is complex, with theories being grouped broadly into 3 categories: psychological, physiological, and transcendental. The results of a 1990 study by Owens, Cook, and Stevenson offered insight into all 3 perspectives. Under psychological theories, these are seen to stem from mental and emotional reactions to impending death, or possibly expectations thereof. Scholars considering psychological perspectives also account for variables like imagination, disconnection from reality, fantasy, prone personalities, and birth memory. Physiological theories, on the other hand, analyze the physical and biological elements associated with NDS and rely heavily on the brain's physiology. Here, variables such as cerebral hypoxia, endorphins, neurotransmitters, and temporal lobe dysfunctions underpin the NDS. Transcendental theories take a more spiritual approach, investigating possible associations with afterlife existence, changing consciousness states, mystical experiences, and mind-body separation. Some experts raise objections to theories that solely encompass psychological or physiological explanations. Van Lommel and colleagues have made a call to acknowledge the transcendental aspects when developing end explanations. Similarly, researchers Parnia, Fenwick, and Grayson suggest broadening the conversation around the mind-brain relationship and human consciousness. In the sphere of near-death studies, various individuals have made significant contributions toward increased public awareness and academic discourse of near-death experiences. Has attracted public interest in the 1970s, when 14 of a surveyed group claimed to have had hallucinatory experiences, and 9 reported seeing apparitions of the dead at this time. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross further ignited the interest by publicly addressing this topic, backed by George Ritchie's autobiographical accounts. Raymond Moody, a psychiatrist from the University of Virginia, commenced investigation into NDES early in his career. His interviews with near-death experiencers during his mid-70s residency culminated in the publication of the book Life After Life. In 1976, this influential work not only kickstarted the field of near-death studies, but also introduced key elements of NDES to the public and future researchers. Contributions to the emerging field continued to flow in, with Russell Noya's collection of ND stories marking a significant shift in the field's perspective, gearing studies away from parapsychology and towards medical principle. He provided vital insight into the phenomenon of depersonalization in life, threatening situations during the 70s. The late 70s saw the formation of the Association for the Scientific Study of Near-Death Phenomena. This group, including John Audette, Bruce Grayson, Kenneth Ring, Michael Sabom, and Raymond Moody, was instrumental in cementing the foundation of near-death studies and pushing on research inspired by Moody. This group would later evolve into the International Association for Near-Death Studies, IANS. In the early 80s, they launched Anabiosis, the field's first peer-reviewed journal, which later became Journal of Near-Death Studies. Despite these steps, near-death studies often faced skepticism from the academic community, considered a somewhat taboo subject. The medical community also showed little interest in dealing with NDES, and funding for research was scarce. Nonetheless, Kenneth Ring's and Michael Sabom's work was influential in the developing Field Ring's 1980 book Life at Death. A scientific investigation of the near-death experience identified core ND stages. He followed this up with Heading Toward Omega, In Search of the Meaning of the Near-Death Experience in 1984, which delved into the mystical, transcendent elements of NDES. Michael Sabom's early work also had a significant impact on academic discourse regarding NEST. In the realm of near-death experience, ND studies, Kenneth Ring, Grayson, and Melvin Morse are considered the forerunners, harnessing their collective insights and establishing new research instruments. These pioneers have gripped public interest and stirred scholarly intrigue. Ring's influence on public opinion is only rivaled by Moody, while Grayson's printed work exceeds his peers, raising his status as the leading authority in the field. In the 1980s, Morse painted a comprehensive picture of near-death studies, including the intriguing findings regarding the NDES reported by children that eerily mirrored those expressed by adults. His collaborative written works with Paul Perry targeted the general public and focused on the compelling impact of NDES on human lives. Other key researchers in the field include Peter Fenwick, a British neuropsychiatrist whose collection of ND accounts resulted in the publication of The Truth in the Light, in which he argues the experiential aspect provides the roadmap to understanding the ND phenomena, an opinion supported by his ongoing collaborations with Sam Parnia. The inception of broader investigations into ND and related phenomena can be traced back to the founding of the Division of Perceptual Studies at the University of Virginia by Ian Stevenson. Unconventional topics like reincarnations, out-of-body experiences, and visions from the deathbed were also explored under his guidance. Stevenson's main focus was on reincarnation, but he left a notable mark on the ND studies field, corroborating the similitude of ND experiences despite the varying degrees of medical danger. The quantity of literature in the NDA field grew substantially during the 15-year period between 1980 and 1995, according to Luciu and colleagues' analysis. This spike was unfortunately met by a gradual decline in output, indicating shifts in research focus. Such a landscape underscores the need for continued studies that can capture the profound mysteries posed by NDES. In the realm of near-death experiences, NDES and perspective studies, scientists from diverse backgrounds worldwide have made significant contributions. From 1991 to 1994, Schwanninger and his team, in partnership with Barnes Jewish Hospital, conducted a 3-year study on cardiac arrest patients. A small fraction of this group survived, with 23 of the 30 interviewable survivors recounting an ND. A separate investigation by Parnia and his colleagues in 2001 at Southampton General Hospital discovered that 111 of 63 cardiac arrest survivors remembered their unconscious phase, many of which incorporated ND elements. In a survey by Grayson lasting 30 months, 10 of cardiac arrest patients and 1 of other cardiac patients admitted to the University of Virginia Hospital reported NDES. By 2005, mentions of ND were reported in 95 of world cultures. Between 1975 and 2005, roughly 3,500 individual cases were reviewed by approximately 55 researchers or researcher groups. The following decade saw NDES gaining attention globally. A notable study coming from Slovenia where 21.2 out of hospital cardiac arrest survivors reported NDES. The researchers involved discovered links between higher PET-CoQ levels, potassium serum levels, and repeated knee occurrences. Jeffrey Long, a researcher who endorses the afterlife concept, published a co-authored book in 2010 called Evidence of the Afterlife: The Science of Near-Death Experiences, presenting a decade's worth of research. The years 2001-2011 marked expansion in NDES studies along with the introduction of new authors and publication mediums. Research began diversifying with areas such as military veterans' mental health being examined. Goza, Holden, and Kinsey discovered that combat soldiers reported less intense NDES than civilians. The Awareness During Resuscitation Project, a multi-center collaborative study spanning US, UK, and Austrian medical sites, released its first clinical paper in 2014. In the study, Parnia and colleagues found that 9 of patients who finished stage 2 interviews reported NDE-compatible experiences. A follow-up study, AWARE-II, concluded in November 2022 and resulted in 6 NDE reports out of 28 participants completing interviews in 2020. Charlene Verbil and colleagues analyzed 158 participants' near-death experiences using text mining. Numerous psychometric tools have been adjusted for use in near-death experience (NDE) research, reflecting the primary focus of the story. In 1980, Ring designed the pioneering Weighted Core Experience Index to assess the intensity of NDEs, which has been beneficially employed by other researchers and has been used to evaluate this unique experience's impact on dialysis patients. Some analysts argue that this index has contributed to field consistency, despite its lack of statistical foundation and non-verified internal coherence or reliability, a point noted by Grayson. In 1984, Ring furthered this research by creating the Life Changes Inventory, LC, to quantify the shifts in values that occur post-NDE. This tool underwent revision and standardization until the revamped version, the LCOR, was released in 2004. Grayson also played a crucial role in this area by creating the Near-Death Experience Scale, an instrument that proved to reliably and consistently measure NDEs across different criterion. His scale's items encompass a wide range of experiences from cognition and affect to paranormal occurrences. In transcendental experiences, the scale serves as a clinically useful tool in distinguishing NDEs from organic brain syndromes and non-specific stress reactions. In the late 1980s, Thornburg introduced another significant instrument into the field, the Near-Death Phenomenon Knowledge and Attitudes Questionnaire. This tool, validated by an expert committee, measures attitudes towards and knowledge of NDEs in various groups, from college students to hospice nurses. Marshall and his team also contributed with the near-death experience content in the NDEs scale, a 20-point measure meant to reassess Grayson's NDE scale, despite finding some shortcomings in the original while affirming the new NDEs scale's strong psychometric asset. Moreover, Grayson has incorporated conventional psychological measures into his research for a comprehensive realization of near-death experiences, including indices for dissociative symptoms and personal death threats. IANDS, the International Association for Near-Death Studies, focuses on the intriguing phenomena of near-death experiences, DES, and has been holding conferences on the topic almost annually since 1982 in major American cities. Interestingly, the inaugural conference was a medical seminar at Yale University, New Haven, Connecticut. Meanwhile, the first clinical and research conferences occurred in Pembroke Pines, Florida, and Farmington, Connecticut in 1984, respectively. Specifically, themed discussions have often formed the backbone of these conferences, for instance. In 2004, in Evanston, Illinois, participants convened to discuss creativity from the light. Occasionally, these academic gatherings transpire at educational venues like the 2001 gathering at Seattle Pacific University. By 2006, the renowned medical establishment, the University of Texas MD Anderson Cancer Center, was the first to host an annual IANDS conference. A significant milestone in the timeline of NDE studies was the first International Medical Conference on NS held in 2006, which saw about 1,500 attendees, comprising NDE claimants and leading scientists like Moody and anesthetist cum intensive care physician Jean-Jacques Charbonnier. The organization produces the Journal of Near-Death Studies, a scholarly periodical unique to this subject, and Vital Signs, a member, exclusive quarterly newsletter featuring topical articles and news. Crucial to the evolution of ND studies are pioneering works like the 1982 publication, a collection of near-death research readings. Scientific inquiries into the experiences of persons near physical death, edited by Craig Lundholm. The Handbook of Near-Death Experiences. 30 years of investigation encapsulating insights from the 2006 IANTS conference was published in 2009, The Clinically Inclined Making Sense of Near-Death Experiences. A handbook for clinicians was released in 2011. In 2017, The Science of Near-Death Experiences, replete with articles published in Missouri Medicine from 2013 to 2013, was issued by the University of Missouri Press. Undeniably, NIA Studies has had its share of contention. The validity and scientific worth of NDAS have been repeatedly questioned by skeptics, including scientists and medical practitioners, engendering widespread controversy. However, the transition towards NDAS being recognized as a viable research topic has been progressive, amidst enduring skepticism and academic disbelief. As the literature indicates, the role of psychiatrists in acknowledging and popularizing these, as well as fostering subsequent research, is noteworthy, as observed by Kinsella. Academic inquiries into NDAS have been sprouting, shadowing the mushrooming popular interest in the subject. The narrative explores challenging theories that propose novel insights on the transcendental or paranormal aspects of the mind-brain connection. This controversial direction invites introspection into modern neuroscience. French counters these theories by bringing conventional scientific understanding into the conversation, accompanied by psychological context and non-paranormal points that could potentially explain near-death experiences that contradict usual scientific justification. However, he refrained from completely dismissing potential changes to modern neuroscience, pending advancements in research methods. Cognitive neuroscience senior lecturer Jason Braithwaite has heavily scrutinized the survivalists' neuroscience of certain NDA researchers. He criticizes their initial presumption of proven truths, unnecessary assumptions, distortion of mainstream scientific knowledge, and their less than thorough exploration of existing facts. Martins mentions inconsistent nomenclature and a failure in removing interfering factors in the studied population as examples of backlash against NDA research, while Ingman criticizes some research for lacking the objectivity required for medical studies. More striking is the critique originating from within the NDAE community itself. Ring draws attention to an undercurrent of religious bias undermining near-death studies. He believes the influx of various religious and spiritual followers hailing from numerous traditions relate to NDA research ideologically, compromising its integrity in the process.